Maybe. Okay, here we go. All right, so section 2.5. How you find? We're told to find the equation of a line. Find the equation of a line. Well, in order to find the equation of a line, you must know two things. You must know the slope of the line and a point on the line. And there are actually two ways you can find the equation of the line. I'm going to stick to the way that, if you go look in your book or if you look on my math lab, the way they do it, which is going to give you another formula. But your formulas, you'll have your formula on the test, so that shouldn't be too bad there. Alright, so if you're told to find the equation of the line, you must know the slope of the line and you must know the point. And then you're going to use the formula, which is called the point slope formula. The point slope formula is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1, where m is equal to the slope, and then x1, y1 is that point on the line. So this is going to be pretty easy, just like that last section with graph lines. You're just going to plug into the formula, then you'll get y on the side by itself. Now you can write your lines two different ways. Remember we had slope-intercept form? The slope-intercept form of a line was that y equal mx plus b, which this is the way we're going to leave ours in most of the time. Or you could have standard form. Now remember, standard form is when your x and y are both on the same side. The only kicker with standard form is a, the number in front of x, must be a positive whole number. So if you have a fraction, you got to multiply everything by that least common denominator. If it's negative, you got to multiply everything by negative to change those signs. While y'all catching up, we're going to do this equation of lines today, and we'll do circles. And then your review sheet is on Blackboard. So you'll need to make sure you do your review sheet, because when we come back from spring break that Tuesday, we review, and then your test is that Thursday. Your test is the Thursday after spring break.
Do we get the quiz grades or anything this time or no?
Yeah, we might go ahead and do that too, because Monday, Wednesday, Friday are taking another quiz tomorrow. So I'll probably give you your quiz grade that Tuesday for your review sheet. Is everybody able to get on Blackboard? Is anybody, last time you got your review sheet from Blackboard, you may have any trouble printing them off? If you did, if you'll hang around at the end of class, I'll actually print you off one, or if you're afraid you'll forget to print it off, you can hang around at the end of class and I'll print you one. Okay? Alright, is everybody caught up on the notes? So let's look at some examples here. We'll kind of go through some of the even ones out of your book. So let's say, first one we're going to do here is number 6 in your book, and I'm on page 242. You're told to write the equation of the line, so anytime you see your directions, write the equation of a line. The first thing that you should be going through your mind is that point slope formula. That's what we're going to plug into. So on number 6, you're told that you want to write the equation of the line that passes through the point 2, 4 and has a slope of -1. And you're asked to write this line in slope-intercept form and in standard form. And we'll do a few of them both ways. On my test, for y'all, I mainly will ask you to leave it in slope-intercept form. That's your easiest one. Okay, so we're going to plug in directly into this formula. Remember my formula here is y minus y1 is equal to m times minus x1. Now your point, like I said, is your x1, y1. So that means I'm going to have y minus 4 is equal to m, which is negative 1, times x minus 2. Now look, do you see how I'm just doing direct substitution into that formula? Any problem there? See where the numbers are coming from. Well, now let's just clean it up and get y on the side by itself. So we'll distribute this negative 1 first. So we'll have y minus 4 is equal to negative x plus 2. Now what do I need to do to get the y by itself? Add 4 to both sides. So I get y is equal to negative x plus 6. Now you can check all these. Plug your point back in, plug your x from your point back in and see if you get the y value as your answer. If you put 2 back in here, what's negative 2 plus 6? 4, the y value, right? So you know you did it correctly. So this is your answer in slope-intercept form. Like I said, most of the time on my test, you'll leave all of them in this form. Maybe one problem on your test, I make you put it in standard form. So let's look at putting it in standard form. Now like I say, on standard form, you've got to move your x term over. That's the only difference. You're going to move your x term over, and it must be a positive whole number. So if I'm going to move this x term over, what happens when I move a negative x to the other side? It becomes positive. So my in standard form would be x plus y is equal to 6. I just move the x term over to the other side, and it is positive, and the coefficient is understood to be a 1, so you're good there. There's no fraction, and it's a positive number. Good on that one. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's look at number 8 here. On number 8, you're told to find the equation of the line that goes through the point negative 4, 3, and you have a slope of 3/4. So we're going to plug directly into my point slope formula. So it's going to be y minus y1, which is 3, is equal to 3/4 times x minus x1, which would be x minus a negative 4. Right, plug it in. Y minus y1, m times x minus x1. Remember, this is your x1, y1. Everybody okay? Plug it in. Well, let's clean that up. What do these two negatives right here make? Positive. So I really have y minus 3 is equal to 3/4 times x plus 4. Now let's distribute that 3/4. So I've got y minus 3 is equal to 3/4 x. What do you get when you say 3/4 times 4? What happens to those 4s? They divide out and your answer is just 3. Or you could think it'd be 12 over 4, which 12 divided by 4 is 3. Right? So far, so good. Alright, now I'm going to give you 2 options that you can do. Well, first of all, let's go ahead and get y by itself. Let's add 3 to both sides. So I get here y is equal to 3/4 x plus 6. There's the answer in slope-intercept form. Now we're going to write the answer in standard form. Well, in standard form, I've got to move that x over the equal. Well, here's a positive 3/4. So when it comes to the other side of the equal, it'll be negative. So that'll be negative 3/4 x plus y is equal to 6. Alright, first I'm going to play the game like you're really smart. You're going to figure it all out, knock it out at one time. If you don't get it, we'll go back and do it in 2 steps. First of all, what do you do to get rid of a fraction? Multiply by the common denominator. And what do you do to get rid of a negative sign? Multiply everything by a negative, right? So do you agree here, if I multiply both sides of this equation by negative 4, which would be multiplying it here times every term, as you do distributive property, 4 goes into negative 4 and leaves you with a negative 1. And what's negative 1 times a negative 3x? Positive positive 3x, right? Negative 4 times y would be minus 4y. Negative 4 times 6 would be negative 24. So that's the answer in standard form. Do I need to go ahead and do it in 2 steps? Multiplying by the 4 and then multiplying by the negative? Everybody good? Now if it had, what if the 3 had been positive? What would I multiplied everything by?
4.
Just the positive 4. But since the leading term was negative and a fraction, I multiplied everything by negative 4 because I had to change those signs. Anytime the leading term is negative, you must multiply everything by negative to get it in standard form.
Can you not leave the fraction?
No, in standard form, the leading term must be a positive whole number every single time. Okay, let's look. Let's look at another. Look at number 10. On number 10, this is going to be the easiest one. You're told to write the equation of the line that passes through the point 5, 1, and this time my slope is undefined. Well, what kind of line from last time had an undefined slope? A vertical. And a vertical line is in the form x equal y. Now y equal, all the y values would be the same, so that would be horizontal. Vertical is x equal, right? So on here you just have to say x is equal to, what is the x part of this point? 5. You need to keep in mind, this can come up several different ways on your test. If you have y equal to a number, remember that's a horizontal line with a slope of 0. If you have x equal to a number, that's a vertical line, and your slope is undefined. Okay? Like I said, you can be told to graph one of those, so you need to know if it's horizontal or vertical. You can be told that it's, like here with the slope undefined, and have to write the equation, so you have to know it's an x equal. Lots of different ways those can come up. So you must know, you have to memorize this. Remember, vertical, every x value must be the same. Alright, let's look at number 14. No. We'll make up another. So for your next example, let's say you want to find the equation of the line that passes through the point -1, -5, and the point 4, 10. Well, what 2 things do you have to know to plug into that formula? You got to know a point and a slope. Well, now that I'm given 2 points, what am I going to have to do to find the slope? Use your slope formula we learned last time. So if you're given 2 points, anytime you're given 2 points, find the slope first, which use your slope formula. Step 2, you'll plug in the slope and a point given into that point slope formula. And you can pick either point you like when you go to plug it in the formula. It doesn't matter which points you choose. They're both points on the same line. So if you're told to find the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points, find your slope first. So let's find the slope. So here that'll be 10 minus a -5 over 4 minus a -1. Well, what do those 2 negatives make? So that's 10 plus 5, which is 15, over 4 plus 1, which is 5. Well, what's 15 divided by 5? 3. So I have a slope of 3. So now it's going to work just like the other. We have a slope of 3. Pick one of these points. Which one would you rather pick?
4.
The 4, 10? It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same equation either way. So now we're ready to plug in. So I have y minus 10 is equal to 3 times x minus 4. I'm going to give you a second, see if you can clean it up and get y by itself. Got a question, Ron? Okay, you agree that we were given 2 points, and you have to know the point and the slope. So the first thing we have to do is find the slope. So I plugged into my slope formula. We got a slope of 3. Now we're going to do just like we did on those first 2 examples. You can use either one of these points with this slope, and it's going to give you the equation of that line. It doesn't matter which point you pick. Everybody get y equal 3x minus 2? Okay, but now let's put it in standard form. This is slope-intercept form. Now for standard form, I need to bring the x over. So it'll be minus 3x plus y equals negative 2. Well, what do I need to do to make that leading term positive?
Divide everything.
Right, either multiply or divide everything by a negative, which just changes the signs. So that would be positive 3x minus y equals 2. So that's the answer in standard form. Leading term must be a positive whole number. Okay. Next, I want to look in your book. At number 16. Number 16, you're told that you have an x-intercept of negative 2, and your y-intercept is 4. Well, how do you write a point if it's the x-intercept? That would be the point, what, negative 2, 0. The y-intercept is 4, so that's the point 0, 4. Now we need to do just like we did on that last one. We need to find the slope and then plug back in. Let me give you a minute, see if you can find the slope, and then I want you to plug back into your formula. Okay, so we found the slope first, so we got to say y1, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I get 4 over positive 2, which is 2. Everybody get a slope of positive 2? Remember, these two values will make a positive. Alright? Now you pick either point and plug in. Which point did most of you pick?
0, 4.
The 0, 4. So that'll be y minus 4 is equal to 2, which is your slope, times x minus 0. So you get y minus 4 is equal to 2x. And now we just need to add 4 to both sides. So you get in slope-intercept form, y equal 2x plus 4. Is everybody good on there? Now you can check it. Plug your point back in. Put a negative 2 in place of this x. 2 times negative 2 would be negative 4, plus 4 gives you 0, and that's the y of the point. Put it in 0. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. That gives you the other point. So you see each point makes it a true statement. Right? Now if you wanted to put this in standard form, you'd move that 2x over, so that's negative 2x plus y equals 4. Well, I've got to multiply everything by negative. Change that sign. So I get positive 2x minus y equals negative 4. That would be standard form. Next, we're going to look at number 20 in your book. On number 20, you're told to write the equation of the line that's horizontal and goes through the point negative 8, negative 2. Well, what kind of line is horizontal? X equal or y equal? Y. And what's the y equal to in this point? That's all you gotta do. You just gotta remember what I just erased off the board up there. I'll show you. This is actually going to be 13 in your book, but I want to show you one that ends up with fractions. Going back to number 13, you're told to find the equation of the line that passes through the point negative 1, 3 and the point 3, 4. We need to find the slope first, right? The slope would be 4 minus 3 over 3 minus a negative 1, which is really 3 plus 1. So I get a slope of 1/4. Now which point would you like to use? The first one or the second? Second one? Okay, so we're going to use my slope of 1/4 and then the point 3, 4. Plug it into my formula. That'll be y minus 4 is equal to 1/4 times x minus 3. There's going to be two ways you can do this. I want you to watch. Let's get y on the side by itself. Well, hold tight. Is everybody up to the point where I am right now? Once you get to this point, I want you to stop. Because I'm going to show you two ways. You're going to write down the way you like the best because you're going to always do yours the same way. But I'm going to give you a choice. First of all, you distribute the 1/4. So I have y minus 4 is equal to 1/4 x minus 3/4. So far, everybody good? Now this is what I want you to watch. And you really need to pay attention so you'll know which way you like it the best. Now, first, if you're going to use your calculator, or if you're good at adding fractions and getting common denominators, watch this way first. Okay? So don't write it down until you've seen them both. Well, do you agree I need to add 4 to both sides? Okay? Well, I need to say over here, negative 3/4 plus 4. Well, what's my common denominator there? 4. Well, this 4 is understood to be 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 4 gives me 16. So I get here 13/4. And you can do that on the calculator as well. Remember at the beginning we showed you how to convert fractions, decimals to fractions, and so forth? That's one way you could do it. Now watch the other way. I'm going to start back at that same spot. I'm going to start back right here. So let's say from there, if you have y minus 4 is equal to 1/4 x minus 3/4. For all of you that don't like to deal with fractions, let's get rid of it. What's my common denominator here? 4. Let's multiply everything by 4. Let's get rid of these 4 fractions right away. So I get 4y minus 16 is equal to those 4's divide out. I get x. Those 4's divide out, and I get minus 3. Right? Now, get that, start working on getting y by itself. So I need to add 16 to both sides, right? 4y is equal to x plus 13. Now what do I need to do to get that y by itself? Divide everything by 4. So I get y is equal to 1/4 x plus 13/4. Same thing I got over here. So this is what you got to ask yourself. If you're going to end up having, as your b term, that y-intercept, the constant term, a fraction, do you want to get the common denominator and get the answer? Or do you want to clear out your fractions, then solve for y? Both will work every time. Write down the method you like the best. Let me ask you, who likes this method first? Just saying the -3/4 plus the 4. Most people like that one. How many likes clearing out the fractions the best? And some of you just don't care. Alright? Well, we'll do a couple of them that come up that way both ways, so you'll get to see your method and the other one. But both methods will always work. Alright? Okay, next one, one more, number 24. This is going to be the easiest one on there. We're going to see how quick you are in your thinking. On number 24, you're asked to find the equation of a line that has a slope of -5/8, and you're told b is -1/3. Well, what is b? Y-intercept. Well, how am I going to do this? What do you think I need to do? What do you think the answer is going to be here? You're given the slope and the y-intercept. How can I write the equation of a line? Who can tell me what is the slope-intercept formula? What's the formula for slope-intercept? Y equal mx plus b. Do I know, am I given the m and the b? Okay, so y is equal to -5/8x minus 1/3. You're given your slope and your y-intercept, so you just plug them into your formula. You don't even have to do any work. Okay? You're pretty good there. Alright. Next, we're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. Same section. Parallel lines, we're going to talk about perpendicular lines. Alright, parallel lines, that's kind of like the railroad track. They run side by side. They never cross. The notation for parallel lines looks kind of like that. Two lines that run right beside each other, they never touch. The reason they never touch is because they have the same slope. They're always rising over running at exactly the same thing, so they never cross because their slopes are the same. Their y-intercepts are different, but the slopes are always the same. So parallel lines have the same slope. Have the same slopes. One slope is the same as the other. Look over here at our at the graph. I've given you two lines. You see those are parallel. They're never intersect. Do you think if you looked at those lines, you might tell me what the slope is of them? Can you figure out what the rise over run is on these lines? Y'all see them? All right, let's look at here. This is one point right on the line. Where's another point that hits exactly? Well, on the red line.
Oh, okay.
Looks like this. That one hit. Right. Okay, well, let's put these 2 points that are on the line. How many times am I, what do you think my slope is? How many times am I rising?
2.
I'm going up 2, 1, 2, and I'm running 1. So what's my slope of that line?
2.
2. Let's look at the other one. Make sure the slope of it's 2. It should be if they're parallel. Let's pick a point. Let's scoot it up some. Okay. Let's look here. Alright, so we saw that one was 2. I just lost those points. But let's look from here. You've got this point here, and if I go up 2, 1, 2, and over 1, am I back on that line again? Yeah, so you can see the slope of both of those lines is 2. And they're parallel. they never intersect. Both of them have the same slope. Now, perpendicular lines, there's the notation we use for those is like an upside down T. Because perpendicular lines, they do intersect. And they intersect and form perfect 90-degree angles. So their lines are always going to look like a cross. It'll be shifted one way or the other, but it'll always look like a cross. And the reason it does is because their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. Basically what this means, negative just means that you're going to change the sign. The signs will be different, so you're going to change the signs. Reciprocal means that you flip it. So to show you what a perpendicular line would look like, these lines are perpendicular. You see how they form and look make a perfect cross, a perfect 90-degree angles right there where they intersect? That's an example of perpendicular lines. Well, let's talk about what I mean by saying slopes are negative reciprocals, the whole changing the sign and flipping it. On these first few that I want you to do, you're going to tell me, are the following parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Or neither. Let's look here. We're going to be given the slopes. Tell me if these are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay? Just by looking at the slopes. What do you think on the first one?
Perpendicular.
They're perpendicular. If you flip two, you get one half, and then one's positive and one's negative, so that's perpendicular. Okay, what about number 2? 2/3 and negative 3/2. Did the signs change?
You put the negative
This one's neither.
Oh, okay.
Because this one doesn't have a negative on either one of them. They're both positive. Remember, to be perpendicular, the signs have to be different. They have been flipped, but the signs aren't different. What about number 3? 4/3, 4/3. Parallel, good. What about number 4? Perpendicular. Signs are different, and they have been flipped. We good there? All right, so let's look at what we're going to do here on some of these other homework problems. Let's look at 48 here in your book on page 244. On how we're going to use what we know about slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines to help us. Okay, so on number 48, you're asked to find the equation of the line that goes through the point 3, -2, and you're told that it's parallel to 2x minus y equals 5. Well, we know that we need to know the point and the slope of our line in order to find the equation. Well, I know the point on my line I'm looking for, and if it's parallel to this one, that means the slopes would be the same, right? Well, how can I find the slope of this line? Right, let's put in slope-intercept form. Let's get y on the side by itself, and we know the number in front of x is my slope. So I need to move that 2x over, so I'll get negative y is equal to negative plus 5. Divide everything by a negative. So y is equal to positive 2x minus 5. Well, what's the slope of this line? So the slope of this line is 2, and the parallel slope would be 2. So over here, now it's just like all the problems that I was just doing. You're given the point and the slope. So now let's plug into that point and slope formula. So I've got y minus a negative 2 is equal to 2 times x minus 3. Anytime you're told to find the equation of the line, you're going to use this point slope formula. Everybody see where everything comes from? In order to use the point slope formula, we have to know a point on the line, and we have to know the slope. Well, to find the slope, I found the slope of the line I was given, and since it was parallel, we knew the slopes were the same. So I have here y plus 2 is equal to 2x minus 6. Subtract 2 from both sides. So y is equal to 2x minus 8. Plug your point back in. Make sure you did it correctly. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 8 is negative 2. So you know you have the right line. Everybody good there? Maybe? Let's look at another. Let's look at the perpendicular one here. Let's go to number 50. On 50, you're told to find the equation of the line that goes through the point negative 2, 0, and it's perpendicular to the line 8x minus 3y equals 7. This is the end of this section. Then we're going to go to circles and we're done. So we'll have finally finished chapter 2. Okay, well, I need to get this one and get y on the side by itself so I can tell the slope, right? So solve this equation for y. So you can find the slope of it. Then the slope of the one we want is going to be when you change the sign and flip it. You can get y by itself. Negative 3y equals negative 8x plus 7. Divide everything by negative 3. So y is equal to positive 8/3 minus 7/3. What's the slope of this line? 8/3. So what would be the perpendicular slope, the one I want? Negative 3/8. Follow me there? Why do we have to change the sign and flip it? The slope we wanted was perpendicular. So let's go in and do it with this one. Use our formulas on here. So I've got y minus 0 is equal to negative 3/8 times x minus a negative 2.
Why did you pick the negative 3/8?
Because that's the slope that I'm looking
That's,
for.
okay.
That's the perpendicular slope. So far so good. Distribute that 3/8, so y minus 0 is just y, and that'll be equal to negative 3/8 x. This would actually be a plus 2, so that's going to give me, what, negative 6/8. Would you agree negative 6/8 can be reduced to negative 3/4? And you're done. You okay there? Okay, now, one more here. Let's look at this. Alright, let me ask you this first. If you have a vertical line, what kind of line is perpendicular to a vertical one? A horizontal one? Wouldn't those make a perfect T? Okay, so like if you had a problem like number 52, well, we'll just make one up. Let's say if you're told to find the equation of the line that goes through the point 3, 5 and is perpendicular to x equal 4. Well, x equal 4 is a vertical line. What kind of line will be perpendicular to it? A horizontal. And horizontal is of the form equal to here? 5. Good. Let's say if I tell you to find the equation of the line that goes to the point -1, 1, and it's parallel to x equal -3. Well, x equal -3 would be a vertical line. What kind of line is parallel to a vertical one? Another vertical one? Would 2 vertical lines be parallel? What has the equation of a vertical line? X equal or y equal?
Y.
Vertical, x. So that means on this one, x would be -1. So this is another reason you've got to memorize. X equal vertical, slope undefined. Y equal horizontal, slope of 0. Let's say if I had the point 5, 2, and I told you I wanted to do one that was perpendicular to y equal 6. Well, y equals 6 is that horizontal line. What kind of line's perpendicular to a horizontal one? A vertical one. A vertical one's of the form x equal, and here the x is 5. Follow how these questions are going? You got to visualize it. Y equals 6, horizontal. The perpendicular one would be the x equal. If I gave you, the only other one it could be would be if you had 7, 3, and you were told that it was parallel to y equal -2. Well, y equal -2 is a horizontal line. What kind of line is parallel to a horizontal one? Another horizontal one, right? Which would be the form horizontal lines of the form y equal. So here y would be 3. Let's think about what we have here. On this one, look here, I told you got x equal 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's that vertical line. A perpendicular one would have to be horizontal. The y value is 5, that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got to go through this point. So it would have to be that horizontal line that goes through that point. That would make that perfect T, a perpendicular. Parallel. -3 would be a vertical line. A parallel one that went through this point, -1, 1, would have to be another vertical line, right? Follow me there? Alright, that's all of that section. Let me give you your homework there, and then we'll go to 2-2 and deal with circles. Remember I told you that on that complete and square stuff that we did from that previous section, that it would come back up in circles, and you have to do it in circles? This is where it comes up. But in 2.5, which is on page 242, your homework will be 1 through 25 odd, and then 47 through 53 odd. All right, now back to 2-2. So 2-2, the problems we're going to be looking at is on page 198. Where the point HK is the center of the circle, and R is the radius. And if your center is at the origin, center is the point 0, 0, then you would have x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And we're going to be using this a whole lot. First, I'm going to talk about what center and radius of a circle mean. if the center is 0, 0, then your h and your k would be 0, so you just have x squared plus y squared. Okay, everybody knows what a circle looks like. It's all the way around. So if you were told, let's say first, and you're not going to have to graph them, but you need to understand what the graph looks like so you know what we mean when we say the center and the radius. If you're told to graph, let's say x squared plus y squared equals 4. For this particular problem, this means that the center, you don't have anything being added or subtracted to the x or the y, so the center is at the origin, and my radius, well, my radius is r. Well, r squared is equal to 4. So what do I need to do to find plane r? You take the square root, right? So my radius would be 2 for this circle. Now the radius is the distance from the center to any outer edge point on your circle. So that means from the center, if you go 2 directions, either way you get the end point of the circle. You get the rim. Okay, so if you were told, and that's why instead of doing the square root problem with that plus or minus, if the radius refers to the distance is always positive, right? So that's why your radius is positive 2, not positive or negative 2. You can't go a negative 2 distance. But if you're told to graph this circle with these properties, the center means that's the very middle of your circle. And that radius means that if you go 2 units to the right, you'll be on the edge of your circle. You go 2 units up, 2 units to the left, 2 units down, you're going to be on the outer ring of your circle. So you can connect it and make your circle. Mine usually look more like eggs. But you would have your circle. That's a circle with the center at the origin and the radius 2. But you see, from that center, it goes 2 spots each direction. Okay? So now let's do another one. This is number 1. Number 2. Let's say if we're told to graph the circle x plus 2 plus y minus 1 squared equals 16. Before you start on it, we're going to come back and look real close at the center radius form of a circle. So write it, and I want you to stop because you must listen to what I'm going to tell you. About this formula right here, about this h and k. It says x minus h, right? And y minus k. There's a minus in this formula. What happens when you multiply something by a negative? What's it do? It changes the sign, right? So when I look at these equations, whatever's in that point, whatever's up there, to get the center, here my center is not negative h, it's positive h. So when you're doing this stuff with your center, you're going to have to change the signs. Okay? Because to get it in the form of the formula, it's x minus h. So that means, like for this one right here, you're not going to do all this. You're going to remember change signs. But to write this one as a formula, that would be x minus a negative 2. That would give you that x plus 2, right? But so what is my h now? Negative 2. And of course, this one is y minus 1, so it's in the formula. But k would just be the 1. So it's the opposite sign of what it appears to be, because my formulas both have a minus in front of those letters. But the center is positive h and positive k. So your signs have to change when you're doing your center. So let's do this one. What would my center be of this circle? What's my x value going to be? Negative 2. My k value is 1. Remember, you change the signs on the center. What's my radius going to be here?
4.
My radius is 4. Very good. Because r squared equals 16. Square root of 16 is 4. Everybody okay on that? And we go 4 units in each direction. So from negative 2, 1, I'm going to go 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you make your pretty perfect circle, unlike mine. There we go there. Now we're going to do some more things. I want to make sure you can do it the other way. If I've given you the formula, you can tell me the center and the radius, but I want to make sure if I give you the center and the radius, if you can write it in terms of the formula. Okay, so for number 3, let's say if you're given the center of your circle is at 3, negative 2, and that you have a radius of 5, write the equation. And remember, I just erased it, but it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. But remember I said, well, our signs are going to change from what they really are, right? So this will be x minus 3 squared plus y. Since that 2 is negative, it would become y plus 2 squared is equal to 5 squared. You follow me? Remember, you change the signs from what they are when they're given to you as the center when you put them into the formula. Now, what is 5 squared? So I get x minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared is equal to 25. So that's the equation of a circle with a center at 3, negative 2, and a radius of 5. I'm going to have to do it both ways. There's one on your test where I give you the equation and you tell me the center and the radius, and there's one where I give you the center and the radius and you write the equation. Let's make sure you can do one on your own. Number 4. All right, write the equation. Write the equation of a circle with center at negative 2, negative 4, and a radius of 7. See how well you can do on these. Alright, let's see what we have here. So on this first one, we're told to write the equation of a circle with a center and radius. So this would be x, would be plus 2 or minus 2? Plus 2. Remember the signs change. And it would be y plus 4 or minus 4?
Plus 4.
Good. And then it's equal to 7 squared, which is?
49.
Alright, is everybody good there? Alright, let's look at this one. Number 5. The center would be what?
-3, 4.
-3, 4. What's the radius going to be? 6. Oh, you're good. You getting this? Alright, what's the center on this one? 0, -4. Because this x doesn't have anything being added or subtracted, so the x coordinate has to be 0. What's the radius? 3. Alright, everybody good there? Alright, now most people usually find these to be easy when they're written in center radius form. Now we're going to look at one in general form where we have to do completing the square not once, but twice to get it in center radius form. Remember when we did completing the square before we were solving quadratic equations? We were talking about the reason we liked it because you can turn it into that perfect square. And so we're going to do that twice. We're going to turn in what we have to perfect square trinomials on the x's and on the y's to where we can write them this way. Now you should have in your notes all the steps to do complete the square. Remember I listed them all out for you? We're going to talk through them as we go. And if you're really stumped, then we'll write them all over again. Okay? Well, let's see how much you remember. So if you're told to find the center and radius of a circle in general form by completing the square. I think I told you last time, if I give you one, I'm going to make it pretty. You're not going to have to deal with those ugly fractions. I just want to make sure you can do it. So if you're given one like x squared plus 8x plus y squared minus 6y plus 16 equals 0. Okay. So we're going to do completing the square on the x's and the y's. Okay? And it's not going to be that bad because I'm going to give you easy problems that work out nice like this. Well, first of all, remember step 1 is that you had to move your constant term to the other side. So let's do this. I'm going to move that 16 over. I'm going to have x squared plus 8x. Leave you a little bit of space behind that 8x. Put your y's together. Y squared minus 6y. Leave a little bit of space. Move that constant term over. So right here you get your x's together, your y's together, and then move the constant term over. Alright. Now we're going to do that completing the square. Let's do the completing the square on the x's. Remember, you have to make sure that both of your leading coefficients on the x squared and the y squared is 1. And they're both 1, right? Now you take half of the number in front of x. Well, what's half of 8? 4. And if I square it, I get 16. So to do the completing the square here, I need to add 16 to both sides. Remember, in order to complete the square, you take half of the number in front of x, square it, and add that number to both sides. Alright, let's just look at the x's first. Do you agree, if you tried to factor this, what factors of 16 when you add give you 8? 4 and 4, so it'll factor into x plus 4 squared. And remember we talked about the thing that was So a plus 4 goes there. You're going to be able to tell by looking at the original what your center is. You'll always get your center right on this test. But if you don't do the complete and square right, the radius is the only thing you could miss. Because you'd be able to look at this and say, oh, well, half of 8 is 4. If I change the sign, it would be negative 4. So that negative 4 is the x-coordinate of the center. Well, let's go with the y's. Let's do our, here, what's half of negative 6? Negative 3 squared gives me 9. So I need to add 9 to both sides. Now this is, the one y's is a perfect square trinomial. So I've got y. What was half of negative 6? Negative 3, so a minus 3 goes there. Because if you, what factors of 9 when you add give you 6? It'd be negative 3 and negative 3. Alright, over here when I combine like terms, what do I get? Those subtract out, so I'm just left with 9. Now it looks like all those other ones we just did. What's my center? Change the signs, right? Negative 4, positive 3. What will be my radius?
Wouldn't be negative 16 minus 16?
Right here?
You're bringing it, oh, you don't change the sign?
On which? No, whenever you do something to both sides, you have to stay the same. The only reason we changed the sign on this 16 is because we moved it over. When we do complete the square, if we're going to add 16 to this side, we've got to add 16 to this side. You do the same thing to keep it balanced. Is everybody okay on that? Do you see what I mean by doing the complete and the square? To write them as perfect square trinomials. You remember doing that on another test, even though nobody did it. But we went over it, right? All right, let's look at another one. Alright, next, let's say if we do number 22 here in your book. And I'm on page 199. You're given x squared plus y squared minus 12x plus 10y is equal to negative 25. So let's look at here. Well, my constant term's already on the other side, but I need to get my x's together. So that's going to be x squared minus 12x, leave some space, plus y squared plus 10y, leave some space, and you got your negative 25. Everybody good there? Alright, now we're ready to do our complete and the square. So let's do the complete and the square on the x's. What's half of negative 12? Negative 6? So I already know that's what's going to go here, x minus 6, right? Square it, gives me 36. So we need to add 36 to both sides. So far, so good. Does everybody know why that minus 6 goes here every time?
No.
Okay, let's talk about that. You know, you take half of negative 12, you get negative 6 squared, it gives you 36. And we add that to both sides. If I were, let's just look at this part, if you were to factor this. Last number's positive, so the signs are the same as the middle. Factors of x squared is x times x. What factors of 36 when you add give you 12? 6 and 6. and then you can write that as x minus 6 squared. But whatever it is, the reason this is a perfect square trinomial is every one of them follows a pattern. Whatever half of this number is always what it is squared that would give you that trinomial. Alright? Now let's do these y's. So the number in front of my plain y is 10. What's half of 10? 5, and 5 squared is 25. So that's what I need to add to both sides to make that a perfect squared trinomial. So this will be plus y. What was half of positive 10? Positive 5 squared is equal to 36 over there. So now let's get my center and the radius. What's the center going to be? Well, what is it?
Positive 6.
Positive 6, negative 5. And my radius would be 6. Everybody good there? Alright, let's see if you can do one here real quick on your own. Okay, so on this one, you've got x squared plus y squared minus 6x minus 10y plus 30 equals 0. Doing this. Anybody not think they'll be able to print that review sheet off and want me to give you a copy?